Hello, welcome back to another Favorite Channel. I'm Jacob, the Books Corner. And today we're talking about the Red Queen series. I just didn't do an intro for this video, so I'm here to come in here and do a quick little intro and a little bit of spoiler, a non-spoiler section before we jump into the actual reviews for each book. But let's quickly go over what even is Red Queen. So, Red Queen is written by Victoria Aveyard. We have Red Queen, Last Sword, King's Cage, Warstorm, and then lastly, Broken Throne. In this book, we are covering all 5 of these books. However, Broken Throne is minimal at best, so this you're here for a round of novellas or anything. This is not really a series for you. Also, if Red Queen is your favorite book series of all time, this is also probably not the video for you, as I don't have the best things to say over the course of these books. You're just gonna see my attention for this series kind of just wane and wane as we get deeper and deeper. That being said, the story does start with Red Queen. You're introduced into a world of reds and silvers. Mare is a red who ends up becoming a silver in some way, shape, or form. That's like in the very beginning of the novel, and she ends up being enveloped into this castle life. She is a peasant. She steals for a living, and then she ends up doing this trick at this event to become the next queen without really trying. And the whole world's like, oh my god, what is this? And then they have to make a whole backstory and stuff, and it's about her time. And it's about her experience there while also falling for several other people, because it is a bit of a love triangle as well. Overall, series-wise, I would have a hard time off base saying I would highly recommend. However, a lot of people love it so deeply that I'm going to recommend. However, I personally think Realmbreaker is a much better trilogy than this. Much better series from Victoria Aveyard than this. But I'm really happy I read them nonetheless, even if it did cause me some issues. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Jacob from January or something. I don't know, it was a long time ago when I started filming this. I also have long hair during the whole video, so you won't see me getting like this. Alright, bye. Alright guys, let's talk Red Queen. Red Queen is from Victoria Aveyard. It follows Mare as she is born a red. Essentially they're in society between red and silver. Silver have magical, or they have powers. The powers are to it's basically the powers represent X-Men type of thing. Some can have lightning, some can have fire, some have metal manipulation. They have all different types of powers and stuff like that. Essentially the world is divided between silvers and reds. Reds are the undergrounds, reds are the poverty, reds are the lowest of lows, silver is the highest of highs. And red, once again, we have Mare here, who is a red. She is a petty thief, and one day, essentially, they also have this thing where these people get put into an arena against the red, essentially, or against silvers, and her day is coming up to be a part of that arena, and her best friend is also a part of that. Cal is also a part of that. No, it's not Cal. Cal is the love interest. I don't remember the dude who her best friend is. I can't think of the name, but that's okay. And so she has decided that she is going to choose to try to figure out a way out of this. And so she ends up meeting with somebody who is a part of the rebel group, Red something. I can't think of what it is. It's red something. She needs a certain amount of coin to be able to do so. She has several siblings. She has 2 brothers that are already apart fighting this war. Essentially, the concession is a war. And they can either go, I think some of them do end up in the arena, but it's also they're going and fighting this war that they're all dying a part of because of XYZ, because they are humans against supernatural, or, against superpowered people. So she meets this person. Her name, I'm so shit at names. Farley. So she's the leader of this group, and essentially she says, hey, you get me this amount of coin. Her sister is a seamstress, and she basically begs her to take her into a sector that she's not allowed in very often. You have to have a certain type of clearance to be able to do so. And her sister's like, yeah, I'll take you. No problem. I'll help you do this to get you and your friend out of the situation. Well, there, she ends up meeting a boy. The boy's name is Nick or Nate or something like that. Ends up being Cal, which is a prince. She ends up being invited to work on the prince's guard. Essentially, they can't get the money for XYZ reasons, and her sister's hand ends up being shattered because she is chosen to be she ends up stealing. The guards end up shattering the hand because that's the consequences for theft. And so she is given this opportunity to go make this money, and so she decides to take the opportunity. While she is there, we learn that this is where the queens, or the soon-to-be queens, are princesses, I should say, are coming to show what they can bring to the table for his hand in marriage. And in this process, she ends up getting shot, or getting thrown off of something into lightning, and then she has now lightning powers. She is still red. Her blood is still red. It is not silver, but she has lightning power. That's what sets off the whole entire world. Like, that's what sets off the whole entire story. Mare is now betrothed to Cal, going to marry him, and they came with this whole lie for her and things. And the majority of the book takes place with her figuring out, like, Naveen, which is his brother, I think is a part of this Neville group. She ends up in a relationship with both of them, kissing both of them at several points in time. It's not like a oh my god relationship. It's just like she has feelings for both. A little love triangle between the brothers. While she's playing this game, okay? She's learning her magic. She's understanding the magic. She ends up meeting a guy who was really close to the old queen before she was dead. He ends up helping her like really figure out the magic for herself. Hold on yards. Okay, long story short, moving far away, they end up having to leave said city after a certain period of time and go to where the Silvers normally lay. Okay? They end up going there, and shit hits the fan real quick. Shit was already starting to hit the fan because she ends up getting shot during a trying to save prisoners type of thing, because they end up staging some type of terrorist attack, I guess, in this regard. A bomb ends up going off, and so all these people get stuck. They're having them escape and stuff, and then she ends up in this new world, scared that she's gonna die. And she's getting closer and closer with Naveen as she is sending Cal away, as she has learned that Cal tortured or helped, was part of the torture team for these people that apparently, she really trusted, and she thought it was really cruel. And so it like turned her against him. Book continues to go on, and then shit like really hits the fan. And part of me wishes I was like vlogging this, like I could tell you as I was reading them, because I don't remember like a lot, because my brain, it's just how my brain works. But essentially, okay, it ends up being a whole play. The whole thing ends up being a whole play. The queen has always wanted to take down her husband. She has 2 sons, one born from her, Naveen, one born from the original queen, Cal. And so she forces Cal's hand into murdering his father on camera and broadcasting it to the whole world. Naveen ends up being evil, which is a huge reveal. He's a lying, a traitor, very cold and very callous, doesn't care about anything, about protecting his mom and things, and that no one loved him, and there's like a whole jealousy battle. There's like this really great scene in the prison, which is really amazing, and so forth, and they are sent to death. There's another character named Lucas, who I thought was okay. I wasn't super upset that he died, but he ends up dead. Several characters end up dead, I should say, at this point, and once the really big characters start to get killed off, I'll start mentioning them, but none of them truly stuck out to me in this first book. So we'll see as the series progresses. As the series, it gets significantly longer as the books get on as well, as most YA books written in this time do. She also learns that one of her brothers is dead in this whole entire process as well. She's really pissed off about this. He was murdered because she realizes, or she learns, that she has a mixture between silver and red blood, and she is the most powerful, or this group that are born this way are the most powerful. Her brother was also a part of this group. He was murdered because of it. There's a whole list. That list ends up in Naveen's hands, also in her hands, and a few other people's hands. And essentially it comes down to this like big battle in this arena of where everybody's trying to kill them, and they end up escaping because she has more immense power than everybody else there. Essentially they end up failing this mission, and the red serpents, or whatever they're called, I guess I can't remember directly, end up saving them, and she realizes that her brother is not dead and he can teleport. Cal is also there, and they deem that they want revenge. And that is the end of the book. I rated only 4.25 stars. I'm really intrigued by the world. I'm really intrigued by the characters. I'm interested where it goes. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see. I enjoy Victoria Aveyard's writing. I'm also really excited to see the progression of it all, because I know where she can go. And I think by Warstorm, it could be a full fucking 5-star favorite. That's the first one. I looked at you when I started the second one. Hello. I'm going to come here and talk to you guys about Glass Sword, but first I want to showcase my cat. Isn't she adorable? Oh my god, I can't point. And essentially, this is picking up exactly where the last book left off. We're following Mare as she is escaping, and she is joining the Red Serpents, or the Red Society. She is also being hunted for her life by a maven. We're also learning more about Shade. Shade does end up, they're big spoilers. It's so hard because, I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm going to change how I do these books, because I find that I have a lot of interesting things to say about halfway through. And then the first half, because it's so chaotic, just gets wiped from my brain, because the second half is even more chaotic. So all I really want to talk to you about is, the ending and how the ending of this book in particular pissed me the fuck off. And I want to talk about it. I have nothing really to say about the first half. The first half, they're searching, they learn, okay, essentially they get trapped and then they have to escape. She ends up getting trapped by Naven at one point and getting these like burned onto her body, which I still don't really understand. I don't think it's like as amazingly described as I was hoping. And they're slowly finding new people. So they find Cameron, who can like turn off all of your emotions and your blood and your power. 9 yards. They find a bunch of other people. Like they have a pretty big crew of new bloods, which is what they're calling them in the side, is what Mare starts to call them. She also ends up becoming like the head of the society, and that ends up being like a super big moment and things. But then you get towards like the second half of the novel, and I find that there's quite a few points where I felt like Mare herself wouldn't make the choices that she ends up making. And I understand the character is slowly changing. I do like her relationship with, I can't think of his name, and he's not on the back of here. That's crazy. I think it's Cal. Throughout the book and stuff as well, I think they're very romance heavy for Victoria, if you're not saying they're romance heavy at all. She just makes a lot of choices. She decides to go into worst come worst scenarios, and every single time she does, something goes wrong. And it almost feels like, oh, this plot point needs to happen, this seems to be introduced, this character needs to die at this point to be able to move this point forward. And I don't know if that's because, like, once again, sometimes when it comes to structure and sometimes when it comes to certain elements, I almost feel like I'm at a disadvantage because I can look at it from, like, a writing standpoint and what that could look like and what that could mean. And if I'm looking at this from a writing standpoint, the main thing that my brain is taking away is that I think it's almost a little, it's not my favorite that I've read. It actually hurt a lot of the novel for me. Plus, I find because there's so many different powers going on at once and so many different things. We have someone who can change the gravity pull. We have someone who, like I said, who can turn off can shut down your eyes, can shut down your body, can shut down everything. You have someone who can teleport. You have someone who can do like all these, there's like a lot of interestingly cool powers. But because I think this is obviously Victoria Aveyard's only second novel she had ever written, it's still not onto a level that I can fully comprehend every action sequence. And so I'm really excited to get to like King's Cage and Warstorm. King's Cage a little less, which we'll get into, in Warstorm. Plus, I will have to say, because the story took such a repetitive nature, Mare gets captured, Mare gets released, Mare gets captured, Mare gets released, Mare gets captured, Mare gets released, Mare decides that she's going to allow herself to get captured, Mare gets released, type of thing. Because it's such on a repetitive nature, and the second one is called King's Cage, it makes me believe that this is going to be a continuation of that second nature, and I personally don't want another book, a much longer book at that, about the same shit. Because I thought, oh my gosh. So they end up breaking into this facility, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought the compound to go rescue the kids and get Julian and things was really good. If you've not read this novel, I'm so sorry. You cannot follow along with what I'm talking about, which is why we're changing how we're talking about them going forward, and this is a learning curve for me. Every other series overview I've ever done, I maybe did updates for Good Girls Guide to Murder, but almost every other series overview I've ever done, I just do reviews of novels, so it's definitely a learning curve. But anyway, back to the point. Mare, like, the breakout, I felt like was really, really well done. I felt like I enjoyed the whole sequence. I did not really recognize that they cut off the bitch's head. That was kind of crazy. They cut off the queen's head. I didn't really expect it. I didn't really know that was going to happen. And I think I got lost in the mumblings of what was the action set piece. Them escaping it, her getting trapped and possibly getting imprisoned, and then her being able to escape, and then them deciding that they're going to go and act war and going into this area that's been like mentioned so many times throughout the novel. There is no map inside my books, which is like the war zone. I was so looking forward to it. So when their plane got shot out of the sky and she's back in Naven's grasp and she let everybody else go because she decided she's gonna take one for the team, I was so pissed off with the epilogue. I was like, end here, book. Let them go into the war zone. I'm so excited for what this means. I'm so excited for everything. And now we're just getting pushed even further back. So I was a little annoyed. I landed on a 3.75, and going forward, I will be doing probably about 50% check-ins, 50 to 75% check-ins. I don't really know. When reading these novels, just coming in and being like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I take away from it. Not in-depth reviews like I've done with other series in the past, but just so I have more to talk about. That way my brain isn't so scrambled into trying to discuss what's going on in Victoria Aveyard world. I find that I really love her storytelling and her writing, but I also find that I cannot talk about them. Anybody else have this problem? I don't know. That being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys all for King's Cage. Hi, let's talk King's Cage. This is like one of those things where I was like, oh, we're gonna chat. Or I was like, oh, we're gonna chat about the novel and while I read it. Because like I don't really have a lot of anything like super big to update you on. I am 25% in, and that's where this update will come in. Next one will be the next time I get to talk to you. I've decided that I don't want to just randomly stop and be like, oh my god, this, oh my god, this, oh my god, this. I will just update you when I have a moment to update you. For King's Cage so far, it follows Mare. We have several different points of view. I've only seen 2 of them so far, which is Mare and Cameron. Cameron was one of the new people they brought in the second book who can control all of your powers and shut you down and stuff, and was like really big help in being used, which is something that is talked about in this book. But it's somebody to give us a POV into the compound, but we're not there because Mare is his captive, Maven's captive. And they're trying to figure out how to get her back, and also Maven's trying to figure out how to use her as a weapon because he's losing control. She is horrendously tortured for most of this novel. She's continually trying to escape, and then she is forced to say all these horrible things. It feels very reminiscent of the first book. I also feel like there's a lot of things that I don't know, I want other things to happen, and so as much as I'm like enjoying myself to a degree, I feel like it's definitely lacking a lot of what I would want from the story. I think that's all I really have. I'm very tired. I'm so sorry. I do feel like maybe Maven isn't going to be the bad guy. And maybe Maven is the one that she's going to end up falling in love with. And it's not going to be Cal. But maybe it is Cal. I don't know. Also, unironically, I do know a slight spoiler. I know she's going to have a lightning, because she doesn't have her powers at the moment. So I do know she gets her powers back at some point in this book. And then she fights someone she loves. Because that was like one of the things that Victoria Avery talked about on her TikTok, and I watch all of her TikToks, so I got spoiled for that unintentionally. But yeah, alright, I'll update you guys when I'm a bit further. Hello, let's quickly talk about the rest of King's Cage. I think the last time I updated you, I was like 60% in or 55% in, something along those lines. And now I finished it, and once again, I don't have anything to talk about. Big reveals, big reveals. There was a third POV. Oh my god, that's right. Evangeline is our third POV that gets probably introduced. From what I understand, the 4th book has like 12, so like I'm really curious, but I'm not mad about it though. There's one thing though, there's a few things I'll talk about. This is a very plot-focused novel series, which I guess I wasn't really expecting, because I feel like, I guess I'll hold up Realm Breaker, or Blade Breaker, because that's what I have next to me. I feel like Blade Breaker, which is the only, and these are the only books that Victoria Avers have written, and I read the series first. I feel like this did a better job with compounding the inner character relationships and also interpersonal drama of inside the character with the plot to make everything feel very organic, where I don't know if I feel the same when it comes to this series. I'm coming to the same problem I've had with many books in the past, where it almost feels like the story needs to go here, so they're going here. A lot of the action doesn't make a lot of sense. At this point, Mare has been kidnapped so many times and has been put in harm's way so many times that it does not matter if she's the most powerful being in the entire world. She's not stepping foot in the fucking war zone. And yet here she is, stepping foot in the war zone 2 days after coming back from being tortured for 7 months straight. And then Evangeline lets her out, and that's a whole thing. It happens at a wedding. You know, they end up breaking off and things like that. And she has to promise not to kill her brother. And I still feel like she might kill her brother. It's also slightly revealed that Evangeline might be a lesbian, which is interesting. The person who's marrying her brother is the person she's in love with. And they kind of all played it out together. And she thought she wasn't going to be queen again. And his grandmother, Cal's grandmother, basically said, no, bitch. It's my country, you're now his queen. And that's where the book ends, is basically being like, you gotta get married. And Mare's like, I thought you chose me, Cal. And Cal's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, fucking hell, Cal. Come on. I get it. I don't get it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't get it. What has Silvers ever done to you, Cal? What has Silvers ever done where you're like, oh my god, this is the way to go? I just don't see it. I don't get the point, okay? Look at all the things that the Reds have done for you. Look at all the things that the New Bloods have done for you. And they're not trying to build an allegiance with the Reds. The Reds are still going to be the servants. They're still going to be the underclass. They do want the New Bloods to be kind of like a middle ground. Like, we have the poor, we have the middle, and we have the high society. and he still wants to be king of the high society, and that's all they're really wanting to do with it. And so, like, that pisses me off. The action sequences I do think are getting a lot better, and I do have to say it's because we're jumping from multiple points of view, so the action sequences can be much longer. There's a towards the end battle sequence here that I thought was very beautifully executed, especially because I find sequences like that, especially if you're jumping around to different first-person point of views, it can be hard to sync them, but also can feel very clustered, and I didn't feel that way about any of it at all. So once again, I feel so bad. This was just not the book series I thought it was going to be. Not for the simple fact of like I mean, it's good, okay? And because I'm about to mention it, we'll talk about Shireen in a second. I do think it's better from some other stuff that's really popular. I just don't have anything to say on it. And for anybody out there who's saying this is not a romance or that these are not romances, what the fuck are you reading? This is a romance. Honestly, I think it's more of a romance than anything else. Really fucked romance. And I think the most important and the biggest comparison that we can make here is, of course, to Shatter Me, as they both have to deal with superpowers and both have to deal with like X-Men type things. I would recommend these over Shatter Me for so many different reasons. Why? Honestly, Shatter Me is only good for the love interest, and only if you definitely don't know who it is. That being said, I will update you guys when I finish War Storm. Alright, let's close out Red Queen, because I have an announcement. This is the first time in this series, and I'll see if there's any other series going forward that I will feel the same way about reading novellas after I finish the main line. So normally the whole point of this is for me to read it so you don't have to, but then it got to a point where I was like, I don't want to read it. The final book, called War Storm, took me 9 days to read. If you don't know, my average reading length of a novel, doesn't matter if this is like a behemoth of a novel either, is between 3 to 5 days, depending on the length. So this taking almost triple the time that it normally would take me to read is the perfect sign. Also, I am going to guarantee this. I'm currently going through it. I'm in a drought because of this book, which that alone makes it hard for me to want to sit here and talk to you about it, because I'm just annoyed with the fact that I pushed myself through the whole thing. Because I should have DNF'd it. I should have probably DNF'd the last one and just DNF'd this video, but I was like, no, you're so close to the end. Just do it, Jacob. Just do it. And I'm not bringing myself to do it for the actual final book of this video, because I have some thoughts. We can already talk about them. I am a bit mixed bag on if I care or not about the extra epilogues in Broken Thrones. That being said, let's talk about War Storm real fast. What I land on. This is by far the lowest rated one in the series. I'm landing on a 2.5, typically for the fact that I just didn't give a fuck about anything. The big headlines, the ones that are important for you, all our main goodies did survive. Evangeline even survived. And then we also have some interesting other stuff going on here. Cal does end up dying, but Cal is in a relationship with, I want to say her name is Iris. She has a POV, yes. And I hated it. I hated it so much. I do not understand why all the love interests had POVs. I don't think it was necessary. Iris, I think, coming in during every attack without knowing that's what her power set is, without knowing, I think her power set was revealed at the end of the last book, without truly understanding everything, I think would have worked so much better, and it would have cut out probably about 25% of this novel. 10% of this novel. 25% is like a big chunk, and I just didn't really think about that. And I do think it would have been better. I think the book would have been better. Plus, it is our introduction to, not Cal. Cal didn't die. I can't think of his name. Ness. I can't think of his brother. I think the reveals would have worked better without knowing his entire actions and plans, and the fact that he's still so obsessed with Mayor, and how he's played so well like a fiddle. Oh my god, everybody plays him so well. He is a horrible leader. He is very reactionary, and it's kind of the point, but it's very annoying to read from. There are a few POVs from his chapter, and there's a few POVs from Ness's, from Cal's chapter as well, and I didn't like any of them. Evangeline's here. She is the introduction to our gay characters. Evangeline is a lesbian. We also get introduced into a world where gayness isn't bad, which is great. Love that for them. Hopefully Evangeline does find her way there with her love. I deserved it. Well, clean. I still think there's ultimate times to kill her brother, and as much as I think she kind of did grow on me by the end of this final book, I would have killed her brother. I think we're there. I think we should have killed her brother. And I know I'm not really going deep into story points, but that's just because I don't have anything. I feel like the battles in the water were pretty cool, but once again, see, this is the thing, because I've read other Victoria Aveyards, right? This is Victoria Aveyard's first little stunt into all this funness. and I do think she does it better elsewhere. I think Fate Breaker and Realm Breaker series in general, its trilogy is just spades better than this, and I'm not entirely sure. I do think the first person Sigma of it all did hold her back. I think it really worked for the beginning of the series. By the end, I think it was a bad mistake, and I do think third person would have really like plussed all of this, because Mare is an interesting person, but I have to say Mare becomes so unlikable. All the characters in this book, in my opinion, become so unredeemable by the end of the story that I don't care that she gets her happy ending. I don't care that the world is like somewhat okay. Like, it does not make a difference to me. And the fact that like Cal changes his beliefs and his everything in like 3 paragraphs also was really disappointing and frustrating to me for a girl, like for Mare, which I guess it's Mare, so whatever, but I did not care for this book. The only person to die is the one I told you about. Everybody else survives. They all live happily ever after. For the most part, a lot of their storylines are, I guess, cut off because there is this extra novellas that were written. And we're going to talk briefly about them and what I think they could be about. This is another one of those series where I felt really great potential and was really, really disappointed by the end. I don't think the potential really lived up to its name. I don't think the idea of a world of superheroes and superpowers, not that this is superheroes, but superpowers, really ever materialized in a way that I thought it was going to. There's a few moments here or there, but nothing to a great grandeur where you're like, oh my god, that's so like mind-boggling. And I've yet to see it done like as beautiful as I was hoping. But yeah, do I recommend this more than Shatterby? No, I don't. I think I recommend. No, I think I do. I think I do recommend it more. That being said, let's very quickly talk about Broken Promise or Broken Throne before we talk about the series overall. Obviously, I didn't read the conclusion, but I read close enough. Broken Throne came out just a bit afterwards. It was like a year afterwards, and it was for the diehard fans who wanted more of what they're getting, okay? Plus, there are a few other things in here. We have what is called artifacts. It takes up the majority of the beginning of the novel, where it's just like little sentiments throughout the world, understanding the world of Morta. I'm assuming all this is a lot of background stuff that Victoria did herself, and that she thought like fans who really loved this world and really wanted to hear more would be more interested in. We can tell where I was in the camp of. And then we also have 2 novellas I read before the beginning of this book, and I actually do recommend reading them when you read this if you do continue on the series. As I do think Queen Song and it's like, what is the other one called? Steel Scars, I think are much more prominent and hits harder here. Queen Song is about Cal's mom and her life before she is killed, before she gives birth to Cal. And then Steel Scars is from the point of view, I can't think of her name. I really didn't liking her. She's the person, a part of the Scarlet Guard, the top person, I can't think of her name. But you know what I'm talking about. It's them discovering who Mare is and putting the action towards making Mare into what Mare could be. Which I think is interesting, but also, there's always parts of me that believes it's a little bit of a cop-out for that reason. And then there's 2 other novellas in this novel as well, outside of like a bunch of different maps and more letters and stuff in between. But we have Worlds Behind. From what I understand, this is Evangeline and Ashley's novel. So that's the gays I was just talking about. If you're familiar. I don't care enough to read it, so I'm not going to. Hate to say it, but also kind of don't. Oh, we also have a timeline. Then Ironheart, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, oh no, that's Evangeline. What is this one about? Sarah? You know what? That's not good that I can't pick up those names right off the bat. This is Evangeline's, is Ironheart. Okay, so there's 4 novellas, I guess, in here. I just don't care enough, and I didn't like Evangeline's POV enough to want to read more. Firelight is the Mare and Cal one, so their epilogue, if you're interested. Which might be the only one in here that I might be somewhat interested to read, but it's kind of long, and you know what? I just have to care, and I don't. And then Farewell is Maven. It does seem like it's really, really short, and I have to wonder if it's some stuff detailing their life beforehand to get a little bit more backstory, because when you meet them, Maven and Cal are already at odds. So I have to wonder if that's what that's about, since there looked to be a little bit of a Cal section in that. That being said, that's Broken Thrones. I'm obviously not rating this. I probably won't even say I read it, even though I did read half of it. Maybe I will. Who knows? The moral of the story here is, overall, talking about the Red Queen series in general, would I recommend this series? No! I don't know, because I don't think it worked for me, but I think it will work for a lot of people, so I do think I would recommend it. And now the question does bring up, am I going to read Powerless to see if they are so similar? And I do plan on reading Powerless at some point because of the fact that everybody said that they get copied from this series. So obviously I'm curious about that point and if it's true or not. Red Queen, I rated a 4.25, and that's the first one. Glass Sword, the second one, I rated a 3.75. This was also a 3.75, King's Cage. And then this was a 2.5 for Warstorm. This was not rated. So if we're looking at some averages here, I'd say it's probably like a 3 something, which is probably where I would rate the series overall anyways. That's my thoughts. I'm just happy we get to move on. And to be fair, I've already started filming the other video. I'm just really excited to finish off that trilogy. We're on the final book of that next video. Great progress is being made. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all next time, and goodbye.